what's up, guys? Dustin Steiner from Esports Max here. I'm here with two developers from Rise of the Incarnates. Go ahead and introduce yourself, guys.
Hi, my name is Daisuke, the development producer of this title. Nice to see you.
My name is Michael, general producer on the title.
So tell me a little bit about Rise of Incarnates, how kind of the idea came about, and what your plans for the title are.
So basically the game is based on, it's a 2-on-2 arena battle. So people who are familiar with the Gundam Versus series in Japan might kind of get an idea of what that is. So there's two of you on a team against two other people. All the characters can both shoot plus melee attack. Some are stronger at some areas than others. So that's the basic format of it. And so in Japan, the Gundam Versus series is quite strong. There's a large tournament scene there. It's popular in both the arcades and on consoles. So internally, we were discussing the game and the format itself is so fun. It would definitely succeed in the West if we had a proper vehicle. That maybe not Gundam, because in the West that hasn't proven so popular. So at the same time, we were trying to develop a new IP, and this kind of was a great chance to do both. So we have some brand new characters, world setting, all of that, based on that kind of format that Western gamers haven't really quite seen so much yet.
I noticed it's a free-to-play title. Can you tell me a little bit about that and what goes into how you're going to be choosing champions and whatnot to use?
Right. So currently the alpha build we have today, there's 4 characters. There's another 2 that we've announced so far, just in trailer form. We had an alpha that people could play. We have a beta coming up so people can get their hands on it. But the way it plays is it's free to play on Steam, for PC obviously. The characters, how you unlock them and such, we haven't really talked about so much yet. But I guess most people are more worried about, what are they going to be charged for, right? So the monetization is mainly based on customization items. So it's not any kind of stamina-based thing. You can play as much as you want. And then if you're playing and you get bored of the look of your character, you can pay for some items. And you don't even have to pay for some. Some you'll drop automatically while you're playing the game. You can pick up some visual customization, as well as some skill-based customization items. But maybe some of the cooler stuff that we'll ask people to pay a little bit for.
So you're kind of more going towards the Dota 2 model rather than the League of Legends model of like skins and stuff.
Exactly.
All right, great. All right, so tell me a little bit about how you're going to balance the game. Is it going to be like mostly player feedback, or are you going to be internal testing, or what are you doing?
Well, before we go into balancing, I think one thing that's different about this that maybe a lot of players aren't familiar with is there's a cost system, which was also in the Gundam. So, because you're playing with a team, if we're on the same team, you have each character has a life gauge, right? But you have a team life gauge. And so you can still die during a match, and that point gets deducted from your team life gauge. How much depends on the character. So a character like Lilith is really strong, like quick, but the attack damage isn't so high, has a lower cost. Right. But a character like Ares, whose shot attacks are very damaging, his incarnate abilities are pretty strong, he's a higher cost, so if you die with him, it deducts more. So that's part of what kind of determines balance to one degree. But then on the other hand, we do have an internal team that's testing it. We're going through alpha, plus they're coming up closed beta, plus it's an online game, so we can balance as necessary. But we hope to balance the game to a pretty good point before we go through to the open beta.
Cool. All right. So, what would fans of Tekken obviously you guys brought out Tekken. People love it. Do you think fans of Tekken will also dig this game? What will they like about it?
Well, I've been on the Tekken series myself for some years now as a game designer, and the game's very enjoyable. You can see at the tournament there's a lot of fans out there. So if you're playing casual, you can get into it. But if you want to get to a high level of play like you see here, there's a lot of knowledge that you have to gain about the frames and all of that. Right. And even the inputs for some character are quite difficult. Like, for example, the Mishimas, their Electric Wind God Fist has to be pretty exact. Right. And that's not just true of Tekken, but most of the fighting games you see out there. So one thing was, we were always trying to look for some way to make it more easy to get into. And this game does such because the controls are pretty standard across the characters. There's not any kind of very difficult inputs to them. The way that people become good at the game is all in your judgment, in the timing. So how well you work with your opponent, the space in between you and your opponents, if you're getting teamed up on, or making sure you know where your opponents are so that doesn't happen. These are the things where that kind of knowledge comes into play. So that's kind of one main difference from fighting games, and Tekken in particular. So the game design is done, the game design and plus the character look and feel of the game is done by some of our staff on the Caliber and Tekken series. So I think people kind of get into that if they like Tekken and other fighting games. But as far as the game, how it plays, I think, like I said, it's much easier to jump into.
Okay, so I noticed that like you know, a lot of the characters are inspired by gods. You know, there's another big game out right now that's also inspired by gods, Smite. Smite? Yeah. Would you say that like the success of that game has kind of inspired you guys to go in that direction, or was it just kind of an independent thing that you just went off on your own and chose to do?
Well, you know, we had been looking at this game has been in development for a few years actually, so we weren't really aware of Smite when we came up with the concept.
Right.
The concept was really, you know, we have the Gundam series on one hand that doesn't really appeal to Western audience. What can we do to appeal to a Western audience? And we thought, you know, they had to be cool, they had to look strong, they had to be, you know, over the top. And that's kind of where we put our eye on the mythology aspect there. And we wanted to appeal to people from, you know, throughout the world. So you draw on mythology that's popular throughout the world.
Because they're familiar with it already.
Exactly. So it was really more that thinking than it is from, you know, drawing inspiration from similar media.
Right on. Okay. You know, could you maybe go into a little bit of what your role is on the project, Daisuke?
Yes, so I'm managing the all development team, and every day come up new features and new characters and stages, etc. And having a meeting and what's going on next time. Right. Yes, that's my job. Yeah.
Okay. So Daisuke here, he's been on the Soul Calibur series before this.
Okay.
And so since this title, it's free to play on Steam.
Right.
Obviously, we're planning on, you know, updates, adding characters, maybe tournament mode, something like that, you know. So that's one of the things that he's working on is just kind of planning the season. Like, you know, when do we want to release what characters, what kind of features and such is a lot of what he's doing day to day.
So, you know, there's been other big free-to-play titles that obviously are, you know, blowing up right now. Dota 2, League of Legends, with huge tournament scenes. Would you say that like Rise of Incarnates could go down that same path if it gets popular enough?
Definitely, that's something we want to do, and that's why we're at EVO actually today, because we think that fighting gamers, and also because some of the shooting elements, even fans of FPSs and other shooters, will be into the game, so we want to appeal to them. Rather than going out to the media and spend a lot of money on marketing and such, the game speaks for itself, so we want to get people like this to try it out, and they'll find out how fun it is, and then they'll get into it. Once we have that foothold, then they'll be interested in what we have for updates and all that. Maybe we'll be in the tournament scene, you know, myself being on Tekken and helping out with some of the tournaments and doing all the stuff we do with Tekken, I can take that plus even more to this project, and we hope to take a similar role.
You know, with League of Legends and Dota 2 being on PC, you know, it's obviously a much different market than what you guys are used to with console. Would you say that like you might be focusing more on like an esports aspect, or would you say like it's going to stay grassroots, more like the fighting game community?
It's tough, you know, because being on Steam and the player base we're going after, you know, they're into that those kind of online tournaments and such. So we've kind of tried to come up with a good mix of both. So, you know, we're going to have some modes like that cater to that kind of play, but also we do want to be at the grassroots events like this to actually interact with people and to be hands-on to see how they're playing, see what they're interested in, see what they're having trouble with, that kind of stuff. So we plan to actually kind of focus on both.
Okay, great. Well, do you have any like closing words or anything you'd like to say to the community before I let you guys go?
Okay, beta coming soon, so please check riseofincarnates.com and our Facebook page, please.
Yeah, so we got the game coming up next month, closed beta, so you have to sign up for it. But we have a lot of improvements included, new characters, so keep an eye on our Facebook page. We'll be rolling out our website sometime next week. So that we have a teaser site up now, but we'll have the proper site coming up, so check out the artwork, character backgrounds, all that stuff, and get ready.
Great. Well, this has been Dustin Steiner from esportsmax.com. You can follow us on Twitter at esportsmax. And I believe you could, does the Rise of Incarnates have a Twitter?
Just our personal Twitters.
Yeah.
So,
okay, personal Twitters.
So Michael, you know, Mike Edu, MYKERYU at Twitter.
Please check Michael's Twitter.
Okay. All right, that works. Perfect. All right, perfect. Well, stay tuned for the rest of our EBO 2014 coverage on esportsmax.com.